Joining us today is Jillian Pendergast. She's a founder and CEO of Edge Therapies, which is a pediatric therapy practice in the Bradenton, Sarasota area. Jillian is an ASHA certified speech language pathologist with deep expertise in early language development, AAC, and structured literacy. She's grown Edge Therapies into a community-based service that meets families where they are, which means homes, schools, daycares, while building a business rooted in neurodiversity, affirming place-based care. Today, we're talking about the business of running and scaling a clinic, systems, metrics, hiring, and growth insights. Welcome to the show, Jillian.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Okay, very good. So Jillian and I we met at a ASHA conference, I don't
Yes.
know, three months ago at this point, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and I thought what she was doing was fascinating, running a clinic. And she also has TheraVate that I would like to talk about later during the show. All right. So Jillian, tell us about your early days, right? So
Yeah.
tell us, who you are, what Edge Therapies does, and who you service.
Yeah. So I originally came from a school-based therapist. I was working full time when I started Edge Therapies. I officially I opened the business in September of 2021. But I didn't really start seeing my first client until that January of 2022. And honestly, the whole reason why I even started Edge Therapies was just from the frustrations that I was seeing from parents and frustrations as a therapist. At that time, obviously, a lot of us were wearing masks. And if you know what speech therapists do, and we teach a lot of kids how to say, pronounce sounds, having a masks and wearing those masks was really challenging. Even if they had like that clear part on it, it was just really irritating for therapists and families. And so my whole mission was to be able to provide an elevated and individualized therapy care and be able to help those families that were, sick of us wearing a mask. Like we were still being safe, but we were seeing kids like regressing in their skills or not even progressing in their phonological skills and speech sound development. So we were able to fill that gap, being able to provide those services, and then also fill a gap of being able to provide convenient services. A lot of the families don't have an extra hour or two in their work week to bring their child to a clinic, even though they'd love to, they just don't have the time. So we would meet them where they're at, whether it's at the child's daycare, or preschool, in their home, and be able to meet them there and provide that elevated level of service. And so that was my whole mission and vision, is being able to do that for the families in our community. And it's just kind of blown up from there, which I'm super grateful for.
I can't wait to hear what it is now. But take us through the early days, all right? Maybe your first five patients. How did you plan to open the clinic? Was it a home-based, school-based, or you had a location? And take us through the initial couple of months of opening the
Yeah.
clinic.
So I was not a business owner. I did not know anything about business when I opened my practice. And I just thought, well, I have an LLC, like people will find me. And that's definitely not how business works. So in 2022, I really didn't have many clients. I made less than $5,000 that year. I was still working full time in the schools because we were wanting to get a house. And so I needed that guaranteed income. And luckily, good thing I didn't, because I made basically nothing that first year. And so, reflecting on that year, I was like, okay, either I stay in the schools, which I really didn't love, or I've got to like figure this out. And so, January of would have been 2023, I learned everything that I could about branding and marketing. Like, I did all my flyers, my marketing templates, what branding versus marketing, like the difference between them both. Cause if you were to ask me, like, what is a brand? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what that even means. So, I just really dove myself into what business needs to thrive and survive. And so for the first 2 months in January and February, that's all I focused on. And then my spring break in March, I grinded for 1 week. I went to all these professionals, these daycares, and just in that 1 week, I got five more clients just from that 1 week. And I was like, okay, so there's something more to than just like opening a business. There's more aspects that I need to learn. And yeah, from there, I just continued to focus on exactly what I taught myself those first 2 months, or building relationships with professionals where my ideal client are at, not just going to like any doctor's office, but because we're private pay only, I targeted concierge pediatricians where they would refer to me because I don't take insurance. Chiropractors was a big one because a lot of them are also private pay. So that's where my client is at. And, even with daycares, I was very strategic in like what daycares I went to. Just because I knew like some families wouldn't be able to afford our services. And so I was just very strategic in how I wanted to build my marketing and use that strategy for it.
Building relationships, right? So again, I think that's a great move. And did you decide right away that it's going to be cash only? You did not want to get involved with insurances?
Yeah, honestly, because I was trying to just learn the business, insurance was just not something I wanted to even look at. And for me, I wanted to leave the schools because of the paperwork aspect of it. And so I felt if I took insurance, that's basically the paperwork part of the school based job I didn't love. And I really just wanted to focus on providing elevated therapy. That's really all I cared about and I still care about. So we still don't take insurance. But in Florida, there is a scholarship for students who are not enrolled in public school. So, like a lot of homeschooling kids, because the homeschooling community in Florida is massive. So, they get access to a large sum of funds that they can use for therapy. So, we do have a lot of families that are homeschooled and have access to this scholarship that we're providers for. So we have a mix of both, like our private pay clients, but then like scholarship students as well.
Interesting. And then when you started, were you going to patients' homes or you had a clinic set up?
No, we literally did not have any sort of clinic until July of last year. So we were only going into like homes, daycares. We went to like charter schools. Yeah. So the overhead was like really, really low initially, which was great.
Good. Okay, very good. And then did you have uh, any idea what your marketing is going to look like when you started, or you started thinking about marketing once you already opened up an LLC and you kind of started, spreading the word? Like, what did it look like?
Yeah. Yeah, once I realized what marketing was and that it wasn't just like opening an LLC. So my first one was like that relationship building. And once I felt like I got that down and I couldn't really do too much more for like time purposes, I focused it on another strategy. So then I really honed into like my website and made sure we had a really good aesthetically pleasing website with good SEO. Like to this day, we still get clients that come to us and say, "We chose you because of your website." Like I know some people say, "Oh, you don't need a good website," but it has literally converted our clients to us just because of that. So once I got my website down, really down packed and to how I wanted it, then I focused really on the social media strategy um, and having Instagram, Facebook, and things like that. So every time I felt like I was able to master at least part of a marketing strategy, I moved on to a different one to like increase because it's kind of like streams of income, but like streams of marketing. Like I just want them all to like funnel to us some way. And so, yeah, I just feel like that's how we're able to have consistent inquiries. Like we have over like 50 inquiries every month now for cash based. And yeah, I mean, compared to like two that I was getting like 3 years ago, we're booking evals consistently now. We're getting those inquiries and we have qualified leads. It's not just like general leads, like we're getting really, really good quality leads as well, qualified leads. So that's
Yeah,
different.
congrats on your success. This is exciting, going from very few leads, right, where you're trying to, figure out if we're going to get the referrals from, right, your patients from,
Right.
to a different problem to solve, right? How to,
Yeah.
I guess, logistics related, right? How to schedule them, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. But if
Yeah.
you were to start today again, right, let's say in a different state, what would you do
Mhm.
different than what you did initially?
Um,
If anything,
I
maybe you did everything correctly. I'm just curious.
Yeah, if I had to start over again, I just because I know now what it takes, I would just be diving in and like I'm not afraid to ask or reach out to professionals. Like, for me, I've always lived by the quote, like, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And so that's exactly how I view my whole life. Most of the time, like, even when I came up to you to Asha, like, sure, it's terrifying going out to people you don't know, but if I don't ask or if I don't talk to someone, the answer is always going to be no, and the opportunity is always going to be missed. So for me, it's like, well, why not? So if I were starting over again, I wouldn't be afraid to go up to other professionals, go to daycare, say like, this is who I am. This is the transformation that I can provide your clients, and yeah, and just not be afraid to do it. Just jump in head first. There's always going to be competition. It doesn't matter. Just focus, put all your energy in you. And that's how I found like my success from it.
Yeah, that's a great point, not to be afraid. And, actually, I tell everyone that just starting out is get out of your comfort zone, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's approaching people, right? Approaching referral sources that a lot
Hmm.
of therapists are not comfortable with, right? That's part of starting your business. You got to get uncomfortable to be
Yeah.
comfortable later, right?
Exactly. And I think there's so many therapists that focus on perfection, and like you don't have to have everything perfect. Like your logo doesn't have to be perfect. Your marketing doesn't have to be perfect. You learn as you go. And I feel like the perfectionism is what hinders people from even starting. And so I think that's also a huge part too. Just like start, and like I've definitely made mistakes and I learn from them and I just keep going.
Yeah, definitely. Mistakes is part of the rodeo, so to speak, right? Uh,
Exactly.
so tell me, now you guys have homes, schools, daycares. Do you have a clinic as well, like a brick and mortar place?
Yeah, so in July, because I wasn't sure if, people were gonna wanna come to an office, so I didn't wanna jump in like fully into a massive lease. So, we rented like one room in this shared office, and within about like 6 months, we were already full. So actually this past week, we just signed on a big clinic space. So I'm super excited. I
Congrats on
actually
that one. How big?
full new journey. Right now it's only about like 1,500 square feet, but compared to our 100 square
Nice.
feet office, it's a big difference.
Well, don't forget, I'm in New York, so 1,500 square feet, it's a significant size here, right? It's a typical therapy clinic, and honestly, on the larger side, I don't know how, what the average clinic in Florida is probably larger, but 1,500 is a very, very functional clinic, considering the fact that you guys see patients in other settings. But would you say that it's evenly kind of distributed? You have homes, schools, right, and daycares, and now the clinic is like 25, 25, 25%, or do you see more kids in the daycare versus schools, etc.?
Yeah, I would say our clinic base is still the percentage is definitely still smaller. But I would say, yeah, our daycares take up majority, and our schools probably, and then like our homes is like another small slither. So I would say the biggest places we go to are the homes and daycares, which I mean not homes, the schools and daycares, which makes it better anyway because we can see some of these kids like back to back to back versus like with that travel time. So it works out better actually.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense, makes sense. And then, uh, how many providers do you currently have?
I just hired like 4 more, so I think we're around like 20.
20.
So
Wow, very
yeah.
good. And then,
Yeah.
so juggling between different settings, right? Different things that you're doing. Uh, what do you use for scheduling and like logistics? What's your software?
Yeah, we do use Symbol Practice, but I do feel like we're getting so big that I was actually just talking to my ops manager about potentially looking at a different just to see. But the way we usually schedule is I have therapists in territories because we were having therapists kind of all over the place, and it just didn't make sense logistically when it came to because I also pay out like mileage reimbursement and like drive time. So that was really important to make sure our drive times are as small as possible. So now I schedule them based on territories, which has been so much more efficient. The schedule is still a beast. I will say, like, it is a Tetris game. I feel like we're doing all the time.
That's a good way to
Um,
put it. Yeah. I'm familiar with that pain point, just so you know. So I know what it takes to figure out
yeah,
where to send therapists to and things like that. Okay.
it is. It's definitely the biggest pain point, I think, we have. And we're so grateful that we have so many families that are so flexible with us because we do, when we start dismissing kids, we need to start moving schedules around. And we've only had like a handful of parents that have ever been like, I don't want to keep moving. But yeah, like I said, luckily our parents are really amazing and they allow us to like schedule or ask to change times, even if it's by like 30 minutes. So,
Okay.
yeah.
No, that's helpful. And then in terms, so you have scheduling, right, and communication. Do you use one tool for these things, or it's separate tools for communication and scheduling?
We do use separate tools. We have a CRM for our communication. We use Go High Level. And
Okay.
I love Go High Level because you can do all of your communication in one spot. So, like whether a parent messages on Facebook or Instagram, emails versus text, it's just all there. You don't need to be going in all these different systems. And so, just for efficiency reasons, it's been really great. We started using that back in September, and we've loved it. We've loved using it. So that's how we use, and our primary mode of communication is actually either calling or texting. Parents nowadays don't like getting on the phone. So I feel like they're always just texting us, being like, "Hey, can you do this?" Or "Hey, I need to, cancel." And so I think one of the big reasons why so many parents really love us is because we're not one of those people where like if you want to talk to a therapist, you have to like hopefully get in contact with the receptionist to relay the message. I text with my parents, my therapist texts with their parents. Our parents are definitely not afraid to like reach out and ask questions. And so our relationships with our parents are really, really great. And I think it's because of, we're just kind of keeping up with the times. So
Okay, that's interesting. So first of all, it's music to my ears because we just integrated with Go High Level. And,
amazing.
yeah, it's in testing mode, so we're actually
Okay.
piloting it in your offices that we have and requested it. I'm excited about that kind of feature that we have. Another thing you mentioned about parents not wanting to call, I'm that parent. So my with three-year-old, right, that's receiving speech therapy services,
Mhm.
and every time they have a change in schedule, they're calling me and it annoys me. So
Yeah.
I call them, can you text me? I'm like, your appointment reminders, can it be a text message? No. And this
Yeah.
one thing that bothers me, it's like I we love the speech therapist he's working with, but I don't love the fact that they have to call us, right? So I think it's absolutely vital for a clinic to be able to text, all right? Because younger parent, like we especially when you service pediatric population, right? The parent generally anywhere in their 20s and 30s for the most part, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Early 40s, these are people that generally, more text friendly, so to speak,
Yep.
right? So I agree with you. Like the two-way communication between the parents, between the patients and the clinic is a must these days, right? What about your therapist? How you guys communicate if you need to assign a case or reach out about something? Do you guys have like a communication system in place? What do you use for that?
Yeah, we use Google Chat, because we have the Google Workspace. We just
Mhm.
have groups, and just because of, my company email, we just all get in groups through Google Chat. And so my admin, because originally she was texting their numbers and it just didn't make sense. Like she would be like, not losing numbers, but it just wasn't super easy for her. And so now she has her Google Chat. So if she has to let a therapist know there's a cancellation or we're adding, she just has those chats like right there. So it just makes it easy. And yeah, I feel like the therapists like it as well. I love having like a group chat where I can say like, happy Monday, like I have these extra resources or whatever it is. Because we didn't, obviously we're getting that clinic. We didn't obviously have it really. The office space doesn't really count because we can't have like more than one person, obviously. But
Yeah.
building culture is something that was really important to me, and being able to be close with my therapist. If I can't see them every day, I felt like chat was kind of the next best thing for me. And so just connecting with them, just even saying like, you guys are doing an amazing job. I do send out monthly employee newsletters too, and I, shout out therapists. I give them updates, just to feel like we're connected, like even making sure I have my monthly one-on-ones with them. And we don't even have to talk about therapy, like what's going on in your life, so that they feel appreciated and connected with me. Cause I do
Yeah.
feel,
Yeah.
I don't want them to be like, who's my boss? That she just cares about like money. I don't want them to feel that
Yeah.
way. And so one of my missions when I started growing and visions was to make sure my team felt appreciated and that they could have like a good work-life balance.
No, I definitely agree with this, especially the fact that you have your employees, spread out, right? That guy's not treating patients in the same place, right? Sometimes for employees, it's very easy to feel kind of disengaged, right? Not connected
Mhm.
to the workplace. I think those phone
Yeah.
calls that you're doing is a great initiative, and it's a must if you ask me, right? When it comes
Yeah,
to work culture. Okay,
exactly.
so yeah, very good. That was, I think that I just wanted to hear the logistics. And I guess one more thing on logistics, I'm just curious. When looking on, like looking at availability, right, for therapists, and what do you use for that, right? Are you using like zip codes or like towns? Like, if you have a referral, how do you figure out who to assign it to? What tools do you have in place for that?
Yeah, so when we ask for the zip code, we basically have assigned zip codes for therapists. So if there's a zip code like 34240, we know, okay, that's my one therapist that's in like the Sarasota area. And then we only primarily look at her schedule to see what her availability is. We do have like some overlap, like a slither. So depending because we service, various counties, but for the most part, like if they're in a certain zip code, then they get that one therapist. If they want a therapist that specializes in something and they're not in the territory that they live in, we say, okay, you can have that therapist, but then you need to come to the office if you want that specific,
Yeah,
style.
yeah, it makes sense. But is it in a specific place, like a tool? Do you have it written down? Which therapist servicing which areas? Like, is this a Google spreadsheet? What do you use?
No, we just know who like,
Got
I'm sure I should probably write it down in our systems, but, no, we just know, like, this therapist is this, and so, yeah, I don't know.
All right, sounds good. All right, so now I want to talk about metrics a little bit. So, what numbers do you look at on regular basis just to understand that your clinic is healthy and is not in trouble, so to speak, right?
Yeah,
Again, per week or per month or daily. So, those are the type of
yeah,
things I'm curious
I
about.
definitely look at numbers almost daily. I think I probably obsess with numbers.
Okay.
But I meet with my team weekly to go over numbers on like for standard, but I'm always kind of just looking and checking in. But we're always looking at we have like 3 or 4 main KPIs. One of them is our inquiries, like how many qualified leads we're getting, and then how many people we're booking from those qualified leads. So we're
Okay.
tracking like our percentage on that. Another one is, our revenue versus profit. So how much expenses are going out. So what are we actually making? Because I think so many therapists also focus on just revenue, and that's just like a glorified number. That's not what you're taking home at the end of the day. So I want to know like how much money am I actually making? So I want to make sure that we're tracking fit because that's the most important number. Also, therapist. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the name, but productivity. I don't, make them have any certain amount of productivity. I'm not saying you have to have 80%, but I looked at our numbers from last year and we are definitely lower than I want to be. So we're trying to come up with like different strategies in place to make sure we're trying to make sure we're rescheduling and we're not just canceling sessions because, I really want to make sure that we're hitting like at least 80% of our productivity because we lost over six figures by not being productive. So that's a massive, massive amount that we could have gotten. So definitely tracking that more closely this year and how we can improve on getting those reschedules or if they have to come to the clinic, whatever it may be. But offering that versus just saying, oh, you canceled? Okay, see you next week. So those are some of the big things that we're really tracking this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess I had a follow-up question, but you kind of answered it is like, what metrics do, clinic owners generally ignore too often, right? But I think you're right. It's the net revenue versus,
Mhm.
just gross revenue. A lot
Yep.
of people don't really know what they're making, right? Year over
Yeah.
year.
And I think
When Go ahead,
sorry.
sorry.
I was gonna say, and I think a lot of times, they think they're not when they're looking at profit too, they're not actually taking account how many expenses come into play when they're paying an employee. So like they're saying, okay, I'm charging $100 an hour to the client and I'm paying my therapist like 80. because, a lot of us are therapist owners and they want to make sure their therapists are being paid well. But then they're not taking account of like in taxes, any benefits they're giving, just what it takes, like the softwares to run a practice. And now their margins are so slim, or they're actually losing money. And so that's something that I also am trying to like communicate with other therapists. Like, you still need to be getting at least like 50% profit from your therapist. Like, you have to run a business still. Like, it's not a charity. Like, you know, if you do that, you're basically just creating a bigger job for yourself and you're going to go under. You can pay your therapist well without, jeopardizing your business. So,
Absolutely. I think one number that I tell everybody they need to be looking at is a break even number, right? What does it cost a clinic to provide that service? Right.
right.
And then you understand, what the minimum amount of money that you need to generate and what your margin per visit is, right? And that's where
Exactly.
bookkeeping comes to, comes
Yeah.
handy for employees,
Mhm.
right? To have a good bookkeeper and then
Yes.
able to generate these numbers on a monthly basis at the
Yep.
minimum.
Mhm.
Okay, very good. What is all about hiring a little bit, right? Because I mean,
Okay.
congrats again on hiring 20,
Yeah.
therapists. So, when did you know it was time for you to hire?
So I was still working full time in the schools and I could only see clients after school. And I was getting phone calls that were wanting morning times. And I was like, well, I don't want to lose these clients, but I don't want to leave the schools quite yet because I was wanting like a certain income for a house. And so I actually did my first hire because of that. So it was an SLP that I used to work with. She wanted out of the schools. And so I said, hey, like, if you want just part time hours, like, I have clients that need to be seen in the mornings. And so I was able to start growing a caseload and a business without me actually having to see a lot of clients. And I was really happy I did that actually, because when I left the schools, I think it was June of 2024, I didn't go in and see clients full time because I started building and hiring for a practice while I was still working in the schools. I was able to leave and know that I was going to make money to pay my bills without needing to get like 10 more clients. So I only saw clients 2 days a week when I left the schools full time. So that's how I knew when I hired. It's basically the clients told me that I needed to hire. I didn't force anything. I just kept getting phone calls and I was like, okay, this is telling me I need to expand. And that's kind of how I even expanded to different counties. Like, we were only in Bradenton, Florida for like the first year, and then we were getting phone calls for Sarasota. And so I was like, oh, I think we need a Sarasota therapist now. And then the same for like Northport. We're getting more phone calls. It's like, okay, I guess I need to hire. So I don't force anything. I just kind of let the market tell me what I need to do. And that's how we've grown it. It wasn't it's probably fast, but it felt slow to me.
And you're right. Listening to clients is a really, really important, regardless of the business you're operating. Right, you always got to listen to clients, and you're gonna. Uh, if you listen well enough, you'll understand what's needed for your business to grow with it.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep.
And what do you look for when you bring in therapists to your clinic?
Definitely that we're aligned in our values of how we treat kids. And for me, I've always said like hire slow, fire fast. Because there's times that I feel like on in the interview, I'm like, oh, I love this kind of like this therapist. They're kind of saying everything that I want to hear. And then we do our 90-day training, and I'm like, "Oh, this is not the same person that I talked to on the phone." And so, I mean, I give them the tools to be successful. I want them to show me that they can be successful, but I have fired people very fast if they don't fit. Like, within 4 weeks, I was like, "Nope, this isn't gonna work." And I just fire them. I'd rather not have a body than have a body and then they're providing terrible therapy, or, like, they're not to the standards that I want. Uh, so with hiring, it's making sure you're asking the right questions and you have the right systems and training and onboarding in place to make sure they're successful. Um, And initially, I feel like I probably could have been better at being a leader and training them. And that's something that I'm like always still wanting to improve. But now I know, like, okay, I've given them the tools to be successful. And if they still can't do it, then it's not going to be a fit. So, so yeah, that's kind of some of the process
Yeah.
that I use for hiring.
And no, that makes sense. And you mentioned onboarding and training. So you have like a 90-day process or different things you discuss related to documentation and treatment, right? Like what other things go into this 90-day kind of protocols?
Yeah. We kinda do like a 30, 60, 90 days. So the third within the 30 days is a lot of more like handholding, like they're observing us, we're observing them, we're having weekly one-on-ones. We're really just wanting to make sure like they feel comfortable with the systems that we've put in place or even just like the software, how to put in their times, whatever that may be. So we're very close that first 30 days. The 60 days, we give them like a little bit of more independence, but we're still doing observations, still doing, maybe it's not phone calls, but it's still like checking in on chat, like, hey, like, how's it going? Let me hear like a lesson plan you have for this child, just to make sure that they're still, doing what they're supposed to with their clients. And then by 90 days, we really give them that independence, but I'm checking their notes. I'm making sure their notes are being submitted on time, kind of things like that. And then after 90 days, it's, they feel successful. They're really ready to like be more 100% independent. And it's not like I'm always reaching out to them or they're reaching out to me because they have the tools already set up for success and they have that structure of this is what I need to do. Because I really believe like all humans need structure and you can't just be like, oh, you can just do whatever you want. Like that's confusing for them and, give them clarity. And so I feel like that 90 days is the perfect amount of time to give them that clarity of their expectations of a job as a clinician within my practice to be successful.
No, thank you for taking us through your process. I think it's very helpful for therapists that are thinking about training, right, or thinking about their first hire. I think these are things that you must have, right? The onboarding process, and it should be written out, and like a like a checkbook, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
So you check off things. Once you complete that, you train in that, etc. And everything has to be in the system, right? So anybody else could train that person if you're not available. On
Exactly.
Jillian, I wanted to talk about social media. I know you're pretty active on social media. I've been following you for the past couple of months. And how has that impacted your referrals and growth?
Yeah, our social media has definitely been really great in terms of our client caseload coming in. Honestly, one of the biggest things that I've seen a shift is when we started implementing continuous ads. So we just do like the meta ads, and honestly, we started implementing that almost a year and a half ago, and they've just been running ever since. And that just really helps bring awareness to our brand in the area. So that helps us honestly. And like Google ads, we do a lot of Google ads as well. So I know there's a lot of push and like, you want it to be organic, which I believe, yes, but you know, people can't book you if they don't know you. So might as well push out our information to more people that are searching for these services anyway. And then your name pops up because of algorithms. So
Makes sense. Do you feel like the quality of leads through Meta is worse than on Google? Or would you not agree with that?
no, we get pretty good conversion from our ads. I would say we started implementing like a form for our ads. So when someone sees our ads, we have like this very short form. Because everyone need like the attention spans are so little now. We want to make sure like people can just fill out a form in like 10 seconds. So we basically just ask for their name, number, email, and like a drop down, like, what are your concerns? And that's it. And so yeah, then basically
That
from there.
goes into go high level, correct? It gets
Yes,
it's
then it goes
implemented
into
in go high level, right? Does
mhm,
it go into
yep.
EMR as well at the
No,
same
it does
time?
not go into our AMR. Nope.
Okay.
No,
All
just
right.
the go high level.
Go ahead. Okay. And you get a notification as well, I'm assuming, right? That somebody filled
Yep, it
out.
goes straight into our pipeline because with Go High Level, you can create all these different automations. So actually, when someone submits the form on Facebook, they get put into our email sequence. So because a lot of it's high touch too. You need to be reaching out to these potential clients like minimum 7 times. And so they will get about 7 emails from us in the course of 2 weeks. With all of our information, who we are, transformational stories on top of us reaching out. So that's something that we don't even have to do anymore. They just get automatically put into our email sequence and into our pipeline. So we know like when we need to contact them.
Interesting. So it's like it's an email every 2 days, pretty much, right?
Basically, yeah.
Have you had any issues of like emails bouncing because it's through Go High Level? And I'm not,
I haven't gotten
I'm
any.
not referring to like a bad email address, more like, because let's say you're sending 50 of those a day, right, as a follow up. And then for some reason, like 30% of those emails are not getting to the person and might have got to them, I don't know, a week ago.
Yeah, I'm sure there has probably been sent to spam. We do with when they get put in our automation, you can have like steps. And so we do say as one of the steps, like as soon as they get the email, they will get a text about like 20 seconds later saying, "Hey, we just sent you an email. Check your spam just in case it went there." So we add that just so it doesn't get completely lost and they don't think like we didn't email them. So we do add that step in there to kind of avoid the getting lost part.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I think this is useful for those people that are looking to set up their CRM system, right? An automation process in place. I think that's important. Okay. Very good. And then I think I wanted to talk to you, like just the biggest lesson that you've learned so far, running a clinic, things that maybe you didn't expect, as being an employee to happen when now a business owner, a successful business owner, managing a team. What is the biggest lesson?
I think perspective, as an employer, you don't know the costs and work it takes to run a business. And as a business owner, I have so much respect and clarity on what it takes now. So I feel like, yeah, I don't know. I just have I respect on it. Before I was like, well, I want to be making so much money. Like this person's profiting off of me, certain amount. And I had no clue, really. Like, I don't know. And so, that's what I'm very transparent with my team. That's one thing that I do feel like helps the team. Like, hey, like, I'm really not making this much of you guys. Like, you think, like, I have these expenses. You need to think about this and this. I feel like it just creates more of a trust as well because they know, like, okay, yeah, you're not just taking advantage of us. So I'm not afraid to be blunt or transparent with clients or my team. So I think that's helped.
And that's an interesting point. I mean, a lot of clinic owners, they afraid to share certain financial information. But again, and you got to be careful what you share. But I think I agree with you. I think it could be very useful to share some of the information and explain to them, listen, this is the amount of visits we need to complete for the week or for the month to break even, right? Or if a certain number of visits without cancellations, if we have cancellation rate higher than this, then we're in the negative. Things of that nature. I think it's important. It's important, for the clinic to kind of, I don't know, to relate and understand that it's not just profit, right? A lot of it is just, uh, you know, pain. It's pain. A lot of it
Yeah.
is pain, especially in the beginning,
Mhm.
right? At
Yeah.
the cl-
And I think,
yeah,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I was gonna say, and I feel like it hits everyone on the same goal because if you have to start changing policies or whatever you're doing, and you're not really giving a reason, like, oh, well, I have to take this away, or I have to add this, or whatever it is. Now we're doing productivity, and not really explaining why, then it's going to upset your therapist because they're gonna be like, oh, maybe she's micromanaging or whatever it is. And so I'm just like, hey, like we had to change this because of this. And it just at least they still might not like it, but at least there's like justification to why we had to change some things. So I feel like it helps with the blow.
It makes sense. And for those therapists that are looking to start a clinic, what advice would you have for them?
Yeah, I would say just do it. I know it's like that's like the most cliche answer ever, but I really believe like the reason why so many people just get hung up is because they don't feel ready or they feel like they have to feel this certain way to be ready. And honestly, it's not it. Like, I just do it now. Like, I really don't think twice. And the biggest growths I've had are just like having faith because you don't know what's going to happen. Right. And it may all go bad, but at the end of the day, like, and I've I've had to go to a therapist about this, but my therapist is like, "Okay, what's the worst thing that could happen?" And I like, "Well, I would have a job somewhere else, at a school." So she's like, "You can always make money, and so if it doesn't work this way, pivot, reflect, and yeah, just do it, just try it because you just never know what's going to happen if you don't at least try for the opportunity."
Yeah, no, thank you. I think this is a useful lesson, and just do it you're right, because I see a lot of perfectionists, right? They just, I'm gonna tweak this a little more, my SOP, my plan, my business plan for the next 25 years, and things like that. They don't
Oh
realize it's
gosh,
all
yeah.
work in progress, right? It's always work in
Yeah.
progress. It's never like, okay, it's a perfect plan. I'm gonna just go according to plan, because you constantly gotta pivot, right? It's never like I
Exactly.
planned it and it's gonna happen, right? It's like
Oh
weekly,
yeah.
daily sometimes, right? You gotta, okay, it didn't work. Let's try this route,
Mhm.
right? So
Yeah.
that's the way, I think entrepreneurship is in general, right? And Jillian, so thank you for kind of taking us through your journey. I want to talk about your other business, right? TheraVate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you tell us about that business and how you help other clinic owners market?
Yeah. So I started therapy really because therapists really don't know how to market themselves. Like, even when I say, "Oh, I go to networking events," they're like, "What do you mean? What's a networking event?" So it was more just like educating on them what marketing is and the different strategies. And now it's kind of evolved into actually I license my whole private practice. So if someone really doesn't have the time or doesn't really understand how to build a practice, but they want it, they can actually license my practice. So I provide them all my marketing strategies, all like literally everything, my SOPs, my KPI dashboards, literally instead of franchising it, you're just getting to use it. So because I was like in so many rooms with therapists and they're like, what's an SOP? What's a KPI? I'm like, oh gosh, this is not good. So, but a lot of people are done with courses, which I get. Like, I think we're overloaded with courses. And so now it's people are like, I don't want a course. I just want it. Like, just give me the thing that you're trying to teach me. So that's what I'm doing. I'm still doing videos to teach you, but like, here it is. You don't have to spend like 10 more hours trying to figure out how to create one SOP. I have like over 100 for you. So.
Able to do it at their own pace, so to speak, right? It's just they purchase it and they complete it as whenever they want to, right, at their own
Well,
pace.
it's completed. Like, they're getting a whole completed product, but they can just use whatever
Right.
module they want. Yeah, so if they don't need, like, training and, like, the hiring part, they don't have to touch it until they're ready, but if they need, like, the marketing part, then they can access all my marketing materials, all my strategies behind marketing, and things like that. So,
Okay. Thank you. And then, if people wanted to find you, right? How can they find you? Let's talk about first parents. They're looking to get their kids SLP services, right? And then how to find you for TheraVate.
yes, for Edge Therapies, you can find us at Edge Therapies. There's no dot or anything. And then for my personal brand for TheraVate, you can find me at Jillian_Pendergast.
Okay, perfect. And we'll make sure to include those links to reach you.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for being on our show today. It was a great talking to you, and, kind of learning the hurdles that you had to overcome, right? And then congrats on your success.
Yes, and thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy we were able to connect at ASHA.
Yep. Likewise. Actually, it was one of my best conferences. It was the biggest conference we've been to.
Oh,
It's really
amazing.
cool. All right.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.